feels super weird just standing in the room here talking to myself, but I'm gonna go over some studio things. I'm actually gonna shut these off while I'm talking, but so I want to go over just really some basic things. We're not going to get super complicated with our portrait lighting. With some schools, portrait lighting takes a whole semester, so we are going to hit just the keys. We're going to go over a 1 light setup, a 2 light setup, and a 3 light setup. And even though I'm looking around the room here and Defiance seems to own 6 lights, 3 is going to be plenty for us. You can do virtually everything with 3 lights. So with studio lights, there's two basic categories. Call them either hot lights or flashes or strobes. Flash and strobe are kind of interchangeable. So strobe or flash is kind of what you're used to on your camera. It goes off, the burst lasts, a 1,000th of a second or so. Very quick, pow. Hot lights were called hot lights because they used to be hot. Now most of them are LEDs, but we still sometimes call them hot lights, or I should just call them LEDs. They're constant. Just like the light in the room, you turn it on and it stays bright. So here at Defiance, we don't have any strobes, so you don't really need to think about that. But if you're watching tutorials online or if I sign videos, sometimes they'll talk about strobes or flash, and we don't use them or need them. So when you're shooting in here in the studio at Defiance, you're going to want to, before you shoot, shut off the room lights, but obviously you're going to want some light before that. So let's talk first about this, just the 1 light setup. I turn that on, turn off the light here. So, the camera is back there. If I was doing an actual portrait, my camera would be sitting right here, right near the light, and it's just 1 light off to the side. And one of the things you can do is, I think we have some reflectors here. I have to figure out where they are. Hold on a second. Come on there. Not ideal. They may have disappeared, but all right. We can edit that out, right? Anyway, you can use poster board or virtually anything. Like I said, it's tough without an assistant. Alright, so instead of showing you, actually, let me just grab some of this. Okay. So, you should be able to see on the video. Let me move the camera a little closer. With the 1 light setup, even though this is pretty dramatic, off to one side, you do get some reflection back from the walls and so on. But if you look here, let me zoom in so you see the difference maybe. And up, because I'm kind of a big guy. Okay. So, when we look at me here with the 1 light, it's actually not an unflattering portrait. So generally, what you're going to do, I have a fairly narrow face. So what you want to do is turn me just a little bit away. You're going to light the thicker side of my face. It makes it look a little fuller. If you're dealing with somebody that's got a rounder face, generally you'll turn them into the light just a little bit. But I'm going to show you with the reflector here, off the side. Obviously you want it out of frame. But you can see that you're able to reflect quite a bit of light, and you're changing the lighting ratio. So you got bright light here, it gets a little dark. So you're able to get a couple different looks that way. So then if you want to add a second light, let me move back a little bit here. And okay. So if I want to add a second light into the mix, I'm going to add this one right next to the camera. Obviously, your main light, step back into light. So let me define our terms for us. So our main light is doing most of the work. That's why we call it the main light, or the key light. I prefer to call it the main light, but if you're reading about it online, key and main light are used interchangeably. So then our second light is called the fill light. And what that's going to do is kind of the same thing I was talking about with the reflector. It's going to fill in some of the details. So you don't really want it at the same strength. So I've got this one on the right, turned to 100%. I'm going to turn this one on, and I've got it at 50. So let me come back in. And you can look at me sitting here. Okay. So I'm looking at it now. And the fill light, to me, it's not bad. Depends on what you're doing, right? It's a little bit bright. So let me turn it down. And it is somewhat of a, just got to feel it. So I'm turning that down to 20%. And our lights here are all touch screen. You're just turning up and down the intensity. So now, and the other thing I will mention is the distance from the light makes a big difference, right? If they're both at 50% and one of them's 2 feet away and one's 4 feet away, it really has the impact of that one that's 4 feet away being at 50%. That it's only half the strength of the other one because light falls off with the distance. I had a professor who used to say light falls off inversely with the square of the distance, which seemed overly mathematical and like I didn't even really understand it anyway. But further away, the dimmer it is. So let me take this light and just slide it further away and you'll see quite a bit of difference. Right, some difference anyway. So then the thing I want to talk about is adding a third light, which goes back in. So the third light, we call it generally a hair light. The idea is that it's going to give a little bit of definition to my hair, especially somebody with dark hair. We want to hit a little bit of light from behind, and it'll give a little, almost like a halo or a rim, and you'll be able to see the texture of my hair so it doesn't blend into the background here. So let me turn that on. And you're generally going to want that to be a little bit above your person. And we'll see, because I'm trying to light myself here. Normally when you're lighting somebody, you can just turn on the light and look and see how it's doing. But right now with that light, compared to the others, you're able to see quite a bit of difference. And obviously when you're making your still photos, you're going to crop them a lot tighter, but I want you to be able to see what's going on around me. So that's one way to do it. The other thing you can do is, if you want to be really cool, it's a little bit tougher to do, but you can get the light and you kind of hide it behind your subject. And see, this light might even be too big to do it with, but that's not right, but kind of behind my head. Let's see. Obviously, I don't know how tall I am. Yeah, this light's a little bit wide to do it. Ideally, you get further from it, but you can. If I get far enough away here, you can kind of hide the light, and what you're seeing is this really intense rim light around me. Yeah. So there, if I get close enough to the camera, and but the idea of that, actually, it's just a little bit taller. You can tell I'm watching the video as I'm making it, which is really the only way to do this. So there. Well, now I feel like I should make some pictures. I'm looking so nice. So it's really the two ways to use that. So you see the difference between just trying to get this rim light, and with the rim light, you're able to see this kind of glowingness around me. And you can use that as a second light. So I'm going to shut off my fill light here. And the other thing, you might notice that I'm sitting on a stool. I like the stools. I feel like it makes people sit up a little bit straighter. But you do want to be looking at kind of where people's shoulders are. So again, so now you're seeing it's lighting the wide section of my face. Yeah, it's tougher when I'm looking into the light to look at the camera. But okay, so that's a 1, 2, and 3 light setup. You can also kind of mess with some things of reflecting off the ceiling, which I kind of like, and off the walls. Think creatively about it. So let me turn this facing up. So this is one light reflected off the ceiling. Shut this one off. And not that I'm thrilled with it, but I want you to try out some different things. I think this would actually look better with some sort of reflection back in on that dark side of my face, right? So what you're doing is you're looking at it and making adjustments. And clearly, my camera needs to be taller. You got a big guy with a short backdrop and the camera kind of low. So framing it so that people fit on the backdrop. You see the difference between this and this, right? Reflector, and move it around. If you're going to work with a reflector, it's nice to have an assistant. But really, if you're thinking just a headshot, you can have the person whose portrait you're making hold it for you. And sometimes it's nice to have them in distracting. People are uncomfortable being in front of the camera. Another thing I wanted to, let me get back at it. I'm totally going to have to edit this so I don't sound like a crazy person. But then again, maybe I won't. So I've turned on that second light now just so I don't feel so weird. But at this point, with what was my main light or key light over here pointed at the ceiling, and now I've turned on what had been my fill light, and because it's the strongest light, it becomes now my key light. But it's just like dark. So one of the things you want to make sure you're doing when you're shooting a portrait is continually give your subject encouragement. Say, that's really good. Even when somebody, if you say turn to the left and they go, you're tempted to just go, no, freaking the left, buddy. So, no, that's really cool. Just it doesn't hurt anything to make a couple pictures. And so you go, okay, take a couple pictures. Go, that really looks cool. That looks good. Hey, can you turn back the other way now? And ask them, whatever they're doing, it's up to you as the photographer, as kind of the master of ceremonies, to keep things light and fun. People are paranoid or self-conscious enough being in front of the camera that just to give them constant encouragement, you want to make sure that they're still feeling good about it. You're not going to get good portraits when somebody's feeling uncomfortable and unhappy. So it's your job to put them at ease, to smile a lot, to be a little bit cheesy. I do it all the time. I go, oh, have you modeled before? Even if it's somebody I know and I know that they haven't. It's just wow, you're really good, you're like a professional. Things like this, it feels cheesy and it feels stupid, it feels weird to say, but you definitely want to be doing that. So you're concerning yourself with the lights, with the camera, and with the overall mood. So just keep that in mind. You are the master of ceremonies, and their mood and their disposition is on you. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to say about the 1, 2, 3 light setups. I guess just other than what I've shown you is sort of the basics. Don't feel like you can't experiment and try some other things. There's always things, and like I said, in a room like this with the low ceilings, you do have a lot of options for reflecting off of the ceiling, and kind of our main lights here, I shouldn't say main lights, but our more expensive LED lights here do have the barn doors, which, let me move back here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about with the barn doors. I'm not sure why they're called barn doors. They're obviously light doors, but these little flaps And it does help you can kind of close them in, especially if you're using one of these as your hair light. You want to tighten it up, and it's going to tighten the focus. And when you've got it out in front of somebody, you just kind of want to light a wide area. You're opening the doors up, and you can do some things we're not going to get into. Using one flap or so on, this really has more to do with when you're lighting glassware and so on. For portraits, you're not too concerned with directing that light like that. So you can see now I've got this one pointed at the ceiling, and kind of the last thing you need to know is, a couple things. Totally forgot that not everybody knows how to work a light stand. So you want to be careful with these. You want to keep them wide, but you got a little knob here, and some lights have air shocks, or light stands have air shocks in them, so that they don't slide down too fast. Ours don't have that. So what you need to do is you loosen it up, and it allows you to go up and down. But just know if you let go while it's loose and you got it up, it's going to slide down very quickly. So you need to tighten it. And nothing should work hard. If you're having a hard time undoing a knob or something, you're doing it wrong. Everything should be easy. Everything should, think about, could your 85-year-old grandmother undo that knob or whatever? If the answer is yes, you're cool. If the answer is no, you're doing something wrong. You're cranking it the wrong way. A lot of these things are delicate. Young, college-age people, men and women, are capable of stripping the bolts and so on. Right now, nothing in here is really broken. Really, really like to keep it that way. So keep that in mind. What else to say about the studio? So, you got to be careful about the cords. Make sure we've got cords running everywhere. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. Make sure people that you have in here when you're making a photograph of somebody that you're not only that you're aware of the cords and not tripping on them, but they are too. And just a quick story for you about Man Ray, who is one of my favorite photographers and is best known for his fine art stuff. But back in the day, even fine art photographers did a lot of commercial work, and Man Ray always, for his portraits, if you shoot a portrait for a magazine, would try to be ready an hour before his subject arrived, and then he would sit and smoke a pipe and just think about what he was going to do. And that sort of preparation really helps because you're able to be ready, so the person isn't having to sit and wait while you set up the lights. So it makes sense shooting your portrait to come in ahead of time, practice a little bit. You can set up your camera with the live view like I have mine, and so right now I'm able to look at the little screen and see how things are looking. You can do that kind of with yourself. Like I said, the stools, I had to go across the hallway and steal one from the computer room. I think the painting room probably has some too. But stools are definitely better than the chairs that are in here for portraits. Especially, you kind of want each person to sit as I am now. Knees off to one side. You can try this straightforward thing, but generally you're going to be happier with the shoulders just slightly turned. And people that have a lot of, whatever you call it, extra under the chin, sometimes doing them, maybe we'll watch a video. There's a guy I like that makes videos about this, but you got that. It doesn't hurt to just say, push your chin out just a little bit, kind of like this. And it feels stupid to do, but especially when you've got straight on view, a little bit of that goes a long way. Also, somebody with a lot under the chin, you want to shoot just a little bit above eye level. It's going to help. You don't want to be like a crazy person up on the ladder, but you're going to go just slightly above their eye level with your lens, and that's going to help also. So our aim is really to make flattering portraits. So I think that's all I have to say about it. Anything else I have to say about it, I guess I can tape it home.